What's up guys, this is my first video of 2022. I'm excited for this video topic because it was requested by a subscriber. One of my last videos of 2021, I asked you guys for feedback for some video ideas, and I said that the comment with the most likes, that I would do my first video of 2022 on that suggestion. So here we are, it's 2022, and J33's suggestion for video on gay porn workers got the most engagement from the rest of you guys. Basically, he said, can you talk about gay porn workers such as OnlyFans, content creators, porn stars, escorts, and whether or not this should be destigmatized and whether or not it's appropriate for an employer to be judgy and not want to hire somebody based on a candidate having that in their past. Fascinating subject that is more relevant than ever, especially because of OnlyFans. For anybody who's not familiar, OnlyFans is a platform that a lot of people now use essentially to upload X-rated content. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be X-rated in nature, but the platform has inherently taken on an X-rated legacy. That's what brings in the most money, which makes sense because people upload, I mean, that's like any other platform, right? Sex sells. And so people, some actual who have been porn stars for a very long time, others who are amateur porn stars who just kind of got into it because of OnlyFans, they will upload sexual content, get paid for it by fans of their content, and it's a huge business. The reason why I'm particularly interested in talking about this subject is that I have been working in influencer marketing, like with social media influencers, since 2015. That's my full-time income. And although I work with like mainstream influencers, like people who have an Instagram presence, people who have a YouTube presence, over time, and over the last few years in particular, I have seen a huge trend of mainstream influencers, I'm talking like YouTubers, Instagrammers, going the X-rated route and going into the OnlyFans territory. And this isn't something that was relevant in 2015 when I first started in this industry, right? Back then it was like everybody wanted to have a YouTube channel, right? And it's funny, it's gone through phases. Then it was like everybody had a podcast or wanted to start a podcast. And I would say the last few years it's been all about OnlyFans. So many people have gone down that route. And the main reason is that I think most people don't realize influencers don't make that much money. Like, it's sold as this fantasy of like, oh, being a social media influencer, you're famous for no real talent and you get all this money and free shit and whatever. But the reality is very few people make a lot of money from, let's say, having a YouTube channel. It's one of those career paths where you always have to hustle and always look for new revenue routes, right? Even if you have a big presence. So that's why so many go the OnlyFans route. OnlyFans allows you to upload content. You make it like locked, so people have to pay to access it, right? And sex sells, so naturally people upload X-rated content and they can make a lot of money. There are people who are millionaires from just OnlyFans. And then, it's like anything else. Most people don't make that much money, but they dream big, they hope for the best. And then you have people who are just narcissists. So they just want to be out there and show off their body and get that validation. I will also say that on a personal level, over the last few years, like using dating apps, using apps like Tinder, Bumble, maybe not so much on Bumble you see this because I feel like people take Bumble more seriously, but an app like Tinder where you swipe through like thousands of profiles, right? Or Grindr, an app like Grindr, people will promote their OnlyFans or X-rated content in general. And that's a newish thing that people, I think, feel so comfortable using a dating app to promote. Well, although I will say, like years ago, before OnlyFans existed, it was a different version. People would, and you still see this sometimes, people will promote like their massage services, like erotic services, right? Or you can kind of read between the lines and recognize that somebody is an escort in the way that they promote themselves or speak about themselves in their profile on an app like Tinder or Grindr and so on. So it's been an interesting thing because if you use social media, if you use apps like Tinder or Grindr, you're probably used to seeing what I'm talking about, and that inherently makes it more normalized, because suddenly you see it everywhere. And somebody like me who works in social media, I see it even more because I see it 9 to 5 on top of like when I'm on an app like Tinder or Grindr. So for me, and therefore I think the average person who uses social media and such, it's definitely destigmatized it. But I will tell you that when I see that, like when I'm like, there are guys sometimes that I'm interested in, and then when I see that they're promoting OnlyFans or like just X-rated content in general, I've had that happen before on Grindr, where I'm checking out their profile. Actually, I don't think I've ever talked about this. I once hooked up with a guy who later on created a new account on a different app, and there I saw that he had a Twitter. So I didn't know this the first time I hooked up with him. Later on, see him on another app. I was like, oh, he has a Twitter. And I, out of curiosity, clicked his Twitter, and it was an X-rated Twitter. And I was like really, really turned off. And it's so interesting because we all have a libido, right? It's not a big deal, but to know that somebody I was interested in puts themselves out there like that, I got really turned off. So it's fascinating to me that professionally for me, it's been destigmatized, and I'm used to seeing it. I've met people who have OnlyFans accounts, but for me, it's a turn off on like a personal romantic level. I think it goes back to that sort of Puritan mentality of like, you want to date somebody, or at least I want to date somebody who like doesn't share that with the world, right? It's like intimacy is just between the two of you kind of thing. In the same way that some people are totally fine with open relationships, and some people are like, no, like I want that traditional monogamous thing, right? I think it's to each his own, whatever. But now this presents a bigger conversation, right? Of what about professionally speaking? Like what if an employer digs into your past and they see that? First off, I don't know that happens that often. I feel like people who are interested in that in sex work probably aren't trying to get jobs at like corporate American companies that would be judgmental towards that kind of thing. I just feel like the kind of person who has an OnlyFans and who tries to really build up something like that, or who goes into porn, probably is wired a certain way where they want to make money a certain way that isn't aligned with the mindset of like wearing a suit to work and working a 9 to 5. Now, of course, I'm sure there's exceptions. I'm sure I could Google an article of somebody who feels that they were personally targeted because an employer discovered that was their past. But honestly, I feel like it's hard to find. Like OnlyFans, you have to have somebody's specific link. I don't know if people know this. You have to have somebody's specific OnlyFans link to find them. It's not, and that's why it's called, I think, OnlyFans. Like you would only know about it if you're a fan. That's the whole idea. Same thing with porn. Like people don't use their real names as a porn star. So the likelihood of somebody discovering that you have that past, I think, is unlikely. And I think if an employer did find out, it would probably be like later down the road, they just happen to, it gets brought to HR or something, as opposed to them finding it during the recruitment process. So I don't know that this is a relevant issue that comes up, but it is a really interesting notion that more and more, like the younger generations are becoming more and more comfortable with this kind of thing. Like I see so many memes every day about OnlyFans, or friends joking that they have an OnlyFans. It's like it's become so normalized, but that doesn't mean everybody thinks it's normal. Like there's still definitely people with an old school mindset. I think especially older generations are very like turned off by that, because to them it represents making money the easy way. And I think it's funny how older generations always talk about working hard, and younger generations talk more about working smart, like working less but making more money, which of course is what everybody wants to do, right? But a lot of people are lazy and they just don't really want to work. But there's also people who are very smart and they just don't want to slave away like their parents or grandparents. And I think that that's totally legitimate. By the way, I feel that way about myself. Like I get annoyed when people try to talk to me about how important working hard is, when to me, like slaving away to the point of in my 20s already having tendinitis symptoms, like to me that's not sexy. Like why is that something to celebrate? What you should celebrate is working in a way that's like efficient and effective. Like every job I've ever had, I've tried to improve processes both for myself and for like coworkers, where we could do our jobs more easily, more efficiently, in a way that would yield more like fruitful results without having to do as many tedious things. So I respect people who want to be like mini entrepreneurs or whatever through social media and find ways to monetize, as I have with this channel. I'm not making a ton of money, but it's like a fun way. It's like, for me, this is like a passion project / hobby that I can make money from. So I think it's cool that people want to do that, whether it's through OnlyFans or whatever. But again, it's very interesting how professionally it could be taken differently. Romantically, it could be taken differently. I could be friends with somebody who has an OnlyFans. Like, if anything, I would want to like learn tips on how they monetize from social media and having an online presence. But again, romantically, I remember the summer of 2018 when I lived in Miami. This guy would always reach out to me on Grindr, and it very like appropriately. Like he wasn't sending salacious pics or anything like that, but he would always reach out to me. And I had no interest in him romantically because front and center, the first thing on his profile was like, check out my OnlyFans. So that's my take on this subject. I'm looking back at the comment from J33 to make sure that did I talk about everything related to this request. The one other thing I want to mention is I do think it's really neat how the sex work world has paralleled social media, in that content creators, like performers, entertainers, whatever you want to call them, adult entertainers, just like singers, comedians, musicians, they have used social media and now OnlyFans to make money without a middleman, like without a studio, without a manager or whatever. It's like social media is allowing more and more people to tap into like an entrepreneurial spirit. I feel like these tools allow sex workers to have more ability to control the narrative of what they're doing, and hopefully to feel safer doing what they're doing, because they are controlling, I'm assuming, who they work with, how they want to be seen, what can get deleted, what can get viewed again, as opposed to like, you know, I always think about porn stars from the 70s or 80s or even the 90s, who a lot of them, I'm sure, just, you know, made a video for a quick buck, never realizing all these years later would get like remastered, retouched, and put online. And now you can find it on like, you know, a billion porn sites that recirculate porn videos. Like, that must be so traumatizing to think, oh, I'm just doing this little thing on the side, and then now it's out there forever. At least now, today, if you upload sexual content online, you know it can get seen by a ton of people. But I do think about those people who sign away, you know, their rights basically to have that out there. And so again, I think this is why things like OnlyFans are actually great for people who know how to make money from porn, want to make money from porn, and can at least control what's out there, the content that's out there. What do you guys think of this? It's a huge topic, but I'm curious what your feedback is, what your thoughts are on this. I wonder if I have any followers, by the way, who have dabbled in this. Have any of you guys dabbled in any of this kind of stuff?